Welcome back, panel time. Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Great to see you again. And the past chair of Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee, Michael Danby. First up, the Prime Minister had a meeting today with the Australian cricketer Usman Khawaja. It was about Gaza. The meeting was apparently reorganised. I think Jim Chalmers sorted that out. Michael, sportsmen getting involved in politics never ends well. Khawaja obviously feels very strongly about the issue of Gaza. I wonder why the Prime Minister felt it necessary to talk to him, knowing that he was then going to go out and say we should sanction Benjamin Netanyahu, he's a war criminal.
Yeah, well, he isn't. There's a case before the International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court. All of these things have to be judged, Mr Khawaja, by actual courts and with different kinds of evidence. And it's actually a war in Gaza where there's house-to-house fighting and 800 young Israelis have been killed. So it's not black and white. That's only for simpletons. But the Prime Minister has to see him because of the very big Muslim community in Australia and in all of the Western suburbs electorates.
But as you know, politicians get seduced by sportsmen and famous faces. It always happens. Pat Cummins was in there talking about green energy and net zero this week.
Well, what about Orange Donald with Greg Norman? I mean, you know, he listens to some sportsmen too. So it's a problem across the world. But I'm just saying on this issue, it's not a black and white thing. And good luck to him that he was able to get his views across. But it's not as simple as that.
Kosha, we're talking about the United States. So Richard Marles decides out of the blue, jump on a plane, I'm going to Washington, I'm going to see Pete Hesketh, and I'm going to talk about AUKUS and whatever else I can talk to him about. He gets over there. The meeting's not organised, apparently. He gets to see JD Vance, though, and he sees Marco Rubio. Then there's a picture of him with Hesketh. First, the Pentagon says there was no meeting. It was just a bumped into in the corridor. And now they say there is a meeting. What the hell's going on?
We don't know. There is photographic evidence because Richard Marles put it out on his social media feed, photos with all three of them, Hesketh, Rubio and JD Vance. So they met. And I think the Pentagon walked it back later and said, yeah, we've been happy to welcome him to the U.S. multiple times, and we did meet. But more importantly, how long was the meeting? That's what's in dispute. And even more importantly, what of substance was discussed? Did they get into AUKUS? You know, he put out a statement that he shored up their position on it.
So the meeting was as long as our chat here tonight.
Right, so what can you do in that? And the other big thing is defence spending, which we know that's a big issue for the Trump administration. They're pushing Australia to increase it from 2% to 3.5%. Did they get any discussion on that? Doesn't seem like it. So it looks like it's...
But Kosha, when you organise these meetings with overseas heavy hitters like this, you have to pre-prepare them. There have to be notes taken. All of the issues have to be talked out by advisors so you get to points where you can actually negotiate. This is very badly organised. Peter Jennings has a very serious column on this. We have a real problem with the Americans, and he says that we're going to go down on the submarines.
Do we? I mean, if Marles can turn up at the White House and get a meeting with JD Vance and Marco Rubio, is that I mean, I'm no big fan of Richard Marles, but that's not bad, is it?
It's better than what the Prime Minister has done, I think. So this also feeds into that the Prime Minister has not had a meeting yet. And it feeds into the narrative that they're on their back foot and they're not really able to grab the bull by the horns and get their agenda
Michael, you ever been on one of these overseas trips where you've had to organise meetings with very heavy hitters and you've got there and it's not organised?
Never. I would never go on one well, and that's the really serious thing that worries me. Why did he fly over there at such short notice? Is something going on behind the scenes? It's like this kicking out the Iranian ambassador. There's beneath the iceberg, there's a lot of iceberg, and I'm really worried that the guy who's in charge of the Pentagon's review of our submarine deals is going to torpedo it. I mean, it looks... Why would he go over there? Why are we panicking?
It's a pretty big bargaining chip for the Americans. They say, OK, you've given us 2 lots of $800 million, I think. That's not bad. We had a bag of cash. But, I mean, they can say, look, you either increase your defence spending or this AUKUS thing's going out the door.
That's going to be a sticking point, the defence spending issue, among others. And who holds the cards? To quote President Trump, who holds more cards? That's what it's going to come down to. And I'm not sure.
Well, if I was Eldridge Cleaver, Steve, that's not his surname, I would really worry. I've got American submarines in Perth. There's a war started between Taiwan and China. If they're American submarines, we know what they're going to do. If they're Australian submarines under Albo and Marles, do you wonder what they're going to do? I don't know whether we'd be like we have in every conflict since Hamel. We should be behind them.
That'd be a bit cynical. You would say, right, what do you want us to do? I mean, Albo's not going to say, no, we're not going to help you with Taiwan, is he?
Well, it's a very left-wing government, Steve. They've done the right thing on this Iranian bizzo, but they're right on the other side of history. You know, 7 days looking at pandas in the Great Wall of China and not meeting Trump, as Kosher pointed out.
Kosher, this whole thing with Iran having operatives paid for by third parties, a criminal in Iraq who apparently is making billions of dollars a year out of illegal cigarettes.
Chop.
He's lined up a couple of youngsters here to go and firebomb a synagogue. I think we were all very surprised when we heard about that. Yes,
big deal. Obviously, we saw the revocation of the diplomats, the ambassador, which was big, never happened before, I think, in history. Penny Wong put it out there. That hasn't happened since World War II. So that was a big move coming out of this. For me, though, the big picture is it's all downstream of immigration. These are really the consequences of 50 years of immigration policy, and you have all sorts of people in here.
A column about that too.
Yeah, and then you just don't know who's in the country and what their allegiances are or aren't, and it's almost impossible to figure out preemptively every single such intelligence
Michael, when
operation.
you're in government, did you ever have a discussion at any point about having to kick an ambassador out of the country? I don't want you to name anyone, but...
No, I would have liked to have kicked a couple of them.
Well, you can name.
Well, there was a representative of a certain country that told us that they Australian Navy or submarines or ships couldn't sail the South China Sea only if. And I said if they were submarines, they could do it. He said yes, if they surfaced and flew their flag. In other words, they were not the purposes of submarines. So there are some dubious people up there.
Does the dirty tricks Iran's up to surprise you?
Not at all. But what does surprise me is what Greg Sheridan said, that they have the bandwidth to do this. I said on another Sky program the other day, Steve, they don't have enough water in Tehran. How can they have the headspace, the bandwidth to do this? And the answer that the social media is full of this anti-Zionist crap that this is a plot by Albo and Asio. The real truth is these people are so fanatical about that issue that even far away Australia comes into their purview. And that's why they fund the Houthis, Hezbollah and all these places.
Kosher, the problem is they've thrown a match on the fire and then anti-Semitism's just exploded. So they succeeded, didn't they? Absolutely succeeded. Thank you both for coming in. Thank you for the help over the last 5 weeks.
Good on you, Steve. Well done.
Peter Credlin will be back to see you next week.